Ladies and gentlemen, as I sit here recording this on August 30th, 2018, I am with my partner, Mr. Bean.
Yes, you are.
As Shawnee Constant, basking in the glory of the opulent One Fall Chandelier.
Yeah, it's looking pretty opulent today. There's not many, all the lights seem to be shining. There's no lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out. Meteora!
Meteora. Are we talking about something that we've talked about in the past?
No, I'm just, I'm getting fired up.
Getting fired up. Everybody talking about us. This is the One Fall Show!
The following contest scheduled for One Fall is for the NXT Championship.
I got the gift again and the gift of Jed, and I'll put that lazy eye right back to work.
Any man with two hands has a fighting chance.
That's Luke Gallows there on the right. That's Carl Anderson. Anderson and Gallows are here.
Look at Nia having a little fun, sending a message to the entire women's division.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Oh, really? I'm not allowed in your little huddle?
No, sir.
Really? You know what? Big E, you just made the list!
Oh, no. Yes!
Ooh, all right.
Shawnee, are you all in?
I am, well,
Are you half in?
I'm about a third in.
A third in, all right.
When it was first announced, I was all in.
Yeah.
And I have a room booked in Chicago,
Oh, no.
but no plans
But
to
no
go
plans
to
to
Chicago.
go to Chicago.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was feeling awfully gangsta and paid for a room like right by the arena that I will not be able to use and cannot get a refund on.
Oh.
But
That's the saddest
but just
story
know
I've
if you're
heard.
driving a long way to get into All In, there's an empty room
There's an
right
empty
down
room.
the street.
Contact Shawnee
with my
Constant
name on it.
at the One Fall Show. He may be able to cut you a deal on a room that he cannot get a refund on.
But I have not. I see you created a rundown for All In, and I
Yeah.
realize how out I have been. And
Well, I mean, we can get to it.
no, let's start with it, man.
All right, because it's kind of the biggest. I don't think I'm overstating that this might be the biggest thing to happen in wrestling, in a long ass time since possibly the Monday Night Wars. Mm-hmm. To have an independent show, but even more than an independent show, to have a couple of independent wrestlers put their money where their mouth is and decide to book what could be the biggest independent wrestling show outside of the WWE ever.
Right. No, it's a very, very cool event, and if things had played out differently for me, I would love to be there. And looking at the card, it's a good card.
Yeah,
It's a good card.
if you follow Ring of Honor specifically at all, or any of the Bullet Club shenanigans, then I mean, top to bottom, this card is absolutely built for you.
Yes.
There's something to love in absolutely every match, and because of the style that Ring of Honor wrestling typically brings to the show, it's probably you're gonna see a lot of real good high spots. You're probably gonna see, I would imagine, given everybody who's a part of this, you're gonna see a lot of interesting storyline kind of swerves and fun.
Absolutely, and you get some people from New Japan who you would expect, because Ring of Honor has a long-standing working relationship with them.
For sure.
But then you get some Rey Mysterio, who people have been talking about trying to get back into the WWE. Did
Yeah.
we see him at the World's Greatest Royal Rumble briefly?
I believe so. Yep.
So
Yep.
he's bouncing around.
I think the idea is this may be his last hurrah on the indie circuit before he starts showing up on WWE in a part-time capacity.
That's the rumors that I had heard as well. It's also interesting that we see, like Joey Janela has been working with Progress.
Okay.
And, Progress, of course, has a working relationship. They're essentially, for people who don't know, the WWE NXT UK is comprised of a lot of Progress people.
Yep.
And then Pentagon Jr., who I'm sure has done the work all over the place, but I know best from the early seasons of Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground, yeah.
And I love his gimmick. Like, he is the coolest luchador to me.
That's cool. It's always fun to, like, much like I've said before, when you introduce somebody to wrestling for the first time, to just kind of let them choose their favorites to see how people react to certain things. It's the same thing with luchadors, because luchadors, essentially, it's a dude in a mask that's going to do a lot of flippy shit.
Right, yeah, because there's very little of mic work, right? I mean, even the ones that do a lot of mic work compared to, I don't know, is there a luchador with American presence that is, like, comparable to a Ric Flair or a, Dusty Rhodes in terms of, like, people think of as the mic guy?
There might be, but I nothing comes to mind.
Right.
Absolutely nothing.
And of course, somebody listening will know.
Right.
Certainly, we're not suggesting that all luchadors are the same.
All luchadors are terrible on the mic. Quote that. One fall show.
Quote it. But they... But yeah, they tell a story in a much more physical fashion. So it's a different, it's like a different genre of professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
And then you got Marty Scurll, who's like a little bit of everything, right? He's a little bit of progress. He would fit in beautifully with the NXT UK. He'd fit in beautifully with the NXT. He fits in wonderfully with Ring of Honor and New Japan, and probably will never. He's been very confident about saying that he is never going to go to WWE. Now, I think with all the people who say that, that's fine. That's like, if in 1985 Metallica told everybody that they were never going to become, they were never going to write the Black Album and become popular.
We're never going to sell out arenas.
And then they did that a long ass time ago, and most people know Metallica as sellouts. So, I would suggest that
we're on fire this week. Metallica are sellouts. Hashtag one fall show.
What do you do what's your day job? Never mind, don't answer that.
All right.
But we could see them go. But Marty Scurll's a smaller guy, as Okada has said in some of the pre-fight talk.
That's a fascinating match, because I would not have put those two. Okada wrestles primarily in New Japan, and I would not have put Marty Scurll versus Okada. Like a year ago, you'd have told me that match is happening. I'd be like, yeah, right. Okada, he's bigger than that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okada is like. He is like their Roman Reigns,
right.
Although he's been over for the time that Roman Reigns has been working to try to get over.
Right.
And in New Japan, I think the schism is Okada already? Is it already time for someone else to take over? And he's now in the phase where the people who may be prone to swing on a guy, in terms of loving them to disliking them, he's wherever that was for John Cena, where John Cena was beloved, and then suddenly people were like, all right, now enough of John Cena. And some people are feeling that about Okada, I think.
Yeah, that's what when you compare him to Roman Reigns, I typically think of him more of a John Cena or a Hulk Hogan character, where he's been over for years and years and years, and he's been the top guy on the food chain over in New Japan for a long ass time, and now he's in that post been the top guy for a long time. And not to say he's not the top guy anymore, but like, okay, we need to put the belt on somebody else to try and make them into further stories and stuff like that. But we still have a place for you. We just have to.
Right. Figure out where, yeah. And that's the debate. Everyone thought that it should have been Tranquilo, not Andrade, not Andrade Cien.
Is it Naito?
Naito,
yes, Tetsuya Naito. I always get him and Takahashi mixed up, so I had a 50-50 chance that I was gonna get right what you were thinking of.
Yeah, no, see, I always have a problem with Takahashi and Tanahashi. Now, Tanahashi,
right, as
I was raised into wrestling, in these last 4 or 5 years, was taught that Tanahashi is the John Cena of New Japan. Although, when I got to see Tanahashi live, I was much more excited than I would have been to see John Cena.
For sure. But it's like I said, you got Cody Rhodes facing the NWA World Champion. I would imagine that's going to be the end of the night big match.
That's an interesting one, because I don't know Nick Aldi's work at all.
Neither do I.
He sounds like a guy who fought in MMA, but I don't think that he is.
Yeah. But, you've also got the Ring of Honor World title. Jay Lethal's going to face the winner of the Battle Royal, which you can see on WGN. They're having their pre-show at 6 p.m. on WGN, so anyone can watch it. And they're having a 15-man over-budget Battle Royal which is going to have a whole bunch of guys like Colt Cabana is the biggest name in there. Then I'm like, oh God, Colt Cabana. Jimmy Jacobs is going to be there, local boy.
Hell yes, Jimmy Jacobs, the Zombie Princess.
Yeah.
I did not realize he was there. That is super exciting. I see Ethan Page.
Yeah.
He is a treat. I've gotten to see him several times in the Evolve Progress circuit when they come to Detroit, and I am a fan of Ethan Page. I think that he's a Kevin Owens-like heel in the indies with a little more comedy flair and a little bit of comic book nerd mixed in.
Oh, cool.
But in terms of his ring work, he's sort of a serious, he's just a no-nonsense heel that I think could one day be the next Kevin Owens. And so, of course, I gravitate towards him since I'm a huge Kevin Owens fan.
It's fascinating to use the phrase "the next Kevin Owens."
Especially this week.
Yeah,
Ooh,
for sure.
I just made myself sad.
Well, a little preview. Kenny Omega going to be fighting Pentagon Jr., the IWGP champion, Kenny Omega, the IWGP champion, fighting Pentagon Jr. I don't believe that's a title match. Speaking of Pentagon Jr., just a quick note. Last week, Impact Wrestling, it was Pentagon Jr. Give me a second because I was looking it up while we were talking here. Pentagon Jr. fought Sami Callihan in a Mexican death match.
Oh.
Ooh. If you can find this online, or if they've got a streaming service, you can check it out. There was some really gross old school ECW spots in there. There was a staple gun involved, which is never cool. But the fun part about the staple gun is it was in a piñata.
Whoa!
So there was a piñata involved, and then when they bust open the piñata, there happened to be a staple gun in the piñata.
Who puts what irresponsible son of a bitch puts it? You know what? I'm going to say it. Whoever put that staple gun in the piñata is a fucking goof.
Your mom's a fucking goof. But there was also another piñata for the finish that was full of Legos.
Oh no!
There was a Lego spot.
No.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. It was, like I said, if you're a fan of like maybe the XICW or the old school ECW stuff like that, hunt this down. It was. I saw some gifs of it on my Twitter and was like, no.
Why the hell is Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels split up? Do you have any idea?
I do not. I've not been keeping up with my Ring of Honor, so I don't know if their faction is still a thing. But yeah, Kazarian fighting on the pre-show against the Briscoes, which are real fun.
Yeah.
I love the Briscoes. Are really. I like them more as heels.
Oh yes,
than his faces. I think they work better as heels. But I love the fact that you got the Young Bucks and Kota Ibushi. Against Mysterio, Phoenix, and Bandito. I love that instead of what we all inevitably expect is the Young Bucks to turn on Kenny because now he's good. He's in tight with his good buddy. That they haven't yet.
Right.
That they're all still together and they're still we'll take this Kota Ibushi guy in and we'll do it 6-man. It'll be fun kind of thing.
Yes.
Because we all expect the Bullet Club was built to be heels. Over in Japan.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's just like one of those great examples of heels getting so damn over.
Yeah. And you can see Stephen Amell wrestle, which last time we saw that was at SummerSlam, and it wasn't bad.
Yeah. I've never watched and I'm not a DC guy. I know you are a DC guy.
Yeah.
And,
I'm not a big fan of the Arrow show, but Stephen Amell seems like just a genuinely good human being. Like he seems real fun. He really appreciates the fans and he appreciates the source material very much. And he's a big wrestling fan. Him and Cody, like I said, they fought at SummerSlam 2 years ago or something like that. They kind of started a friendship, a relationship that has blossomed up to now.
Yeah,
so that he can be at All In.
That is pretty damn cool, and it is very cool that they did that they got this TV contract so that they could do the battle royal, the over budget battle royal.
Yeah,
that is a very cool thing.
But the thing that I think a lot of people are looking forward to this weekend with All In, I mean, obviously they've turned it into like this big, almost a Comic-Con for wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a bunch of different podcasts that are going to be out there for StarCast and shows and stuff like that. I know they're doing the roast of Bruce Pritchard, I think on Friday or Saturday night, which will be super fun. And the thing I think people are most looking forward to are who do we not know is going to be there that's going to show up.
Right.
Like right when they announced it, they were like, oh, you know what? CM Punk happens to be doing a signing at Pro Wrestling Tees at their thing that weekend during Chicago, which means he'll be in town.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he'll show up kind of thing.
Not in the Battle Royal, that's for damn sure.
I would think so.
Unless it's to punch Colt Cabana in the face.
In the face!
Colt Cabana is suing
right.
CM Punk.
Right.
That's
right.
the real best friends breakup.
Yeah,
rivalry right there.
That totally feels like mommy and daddy are fighting.
That's a feud.
Yep. But do we see Neville?
Yes.
Is Kevin Owens done with Raw so that he can be at All In this weekend?
Can you imagine how
Oh my
much
God.
fun that would be?
Yeah.
I heard there was an interview with it must have been the Bucks and Cody with Jericho.
Yeah.
And Jericho had mentioned All In to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon apparently said, "I wish they would have called me because I would have told them September's the worst time to promote." And Cody was like, "Yeah, I was gonna call Vince McMahon and be like,
Verse him.
I got the Young Bucks on the phone, and we were looking for some advice on promoting a show to be in competition with you."
Right. What are your thoughts? That's another one though that what if Y2J shows up for the Battle Royal even?
Technically possible.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's going to be, and I also found out this week that they not only will be streaming it on Fight TV, but it will also be on New Japan World.
Oh.
Which is super cool.
Yes, I have New Japan World because
See?
I always forget to cancel it.
There you go. See, this is your time.
It is my time.
Your time is now. I can't see you.
Oh no.
Your time is now.
Oh no.
Well, you want to get into the meat and potatoes of this week?
Yes. Give me a moment to recover from your time is now.
Fair enough.
So we learned that the Braun Strowman Roman Reigns match is going to be
Yep.
at
Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
But we had that great moment where Baron Corbin's sort of looking at the thing and he's talking to Stephanie McMahon, so the shenanigans taking place just by virtue of that. And I'm like, wait a minute. I had said before the last pay-per-view that there had been a rumor that Baron Corbin could eventually get the thing and then turn around and use it.
Yeah.
But now it's in his possession. And
That's true.
Also, when Kevin came out, he had said, "I'm not leaving this place without a belt." So for the rest of the show, I was thinking,
you were thinking he's
there's
gonna
a chance Kevin Owens comes in with that somehow, some way, gets the title, and so now that's like bouncing around in my head, and will be continue to bounce around.
Yeah.
And again, these are the great things that this is what they should be doing all of the time, making me wonder if the next shoe is going to drop right around the corner.
Right.
And we're finally in that place. So
yeah,
that
for
is
sure.
Very, very cool.
Well, and Baron Corbin said that he would talk to Kevin as well.
Yes.
So, so who knows?
You never know. never know.
What does he have to give Kevin in order for Kevin to not quit?
That I don't know. That I do not know.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Part of me wants to find out immediately, and part of me is like, the longer I have to wait. This is one of those rare storylines where the longer I have to wait, the more interested I'm going to be.
Absolutely, yeah. It's fun to watch it unfold from week to week.
And on the WWE website, they did move Kevin Owens' photo to the what do they call
the
it?
alumni section.
The alumni section.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So that's real fun.
Yes.
Somebody had to put in an extra hour of work or something like that to change the website around. So that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, if they open the show with Raw and Kevin Owens on Monday, I'm not going to be one to complain.
No,
like this can go any way, and I'm
right,
happy.
exactly.
The KO show remains my favorite show within the WWE world. So
I fluctuate, but it's definitely in my top, at least my top 3. Absolutely,
I can appreciate that.
It was good to see Elias as always, and even better to see Trish Stratus.
What are your thoughts? She's an Attitude Era performer. Don't know much about Trish Stratus at all.
She came in as just a fitness model, and was just going to be a manager, and then got a real taste for, they started her main feud throughout most of her career was with Lita.
Okay.
And they did some 6-man tag matches. And then she started, she got a real taste for it. She had a real wrestling is fun. I want to learn to do the stuff, and became, I want to say a 7 or 11 time women's champion, and carried through a lot of the post Attitude Era women's matches. She was there at a time where not only could she end up having really good wrestling matches, I think one of the first women's hardcore matches was her and Victoria at a Survivor Series, one of my favorite Survivor Series. But she also had to do like the brawn panty matches or the gravy bowl matches or something like that. But she, through it all, kind of did it with her head held high, kind of thing. She even had some fairly embarrassing storylines with Vince McMahon.
I think I've seen some of that. It was, she was like his
mistress.
Like his mistress, yes.
Yes.
I thought that was the case.
But it all paid off really well at, I think it was WrestleMania 17, where it was Vince versus Shane, and there's a real good turn moment in that, where like at the time to set it up, let's see, Vince has had his wife committed, and she's super drugged up, so Trish at WrestleMania 17 is wheeling Linda McMahon around in a wheelchair, and she's just trying to stone face the whole time, like she's just drugged out of her mind. Vince and Shane are going to fight at WrestleMania 17. The week before is when Shane buys WCW, which puts an added spin on that match. Stephanie is in Vince's corner, his daddy's little girl, and she's feuded with Trish before, so she's really enjoying watching Vince humiliating Trish Stratus week after week after week. And they get to the match. Mick Foley is the referee.
Oh, wow.
And it's a bang-up, knockdown, drag-out match. And just when it looks like Shane is down, it looks like Vince is going to just murder him with like a garbage can or something like that, he pulls Linda up into the ring and sits her in the corner and is like, you watch what's going to happen. And then he turns around with Shane, and he's got a garbage can up in the air, and Linda stands up behind him, and Shane is just kind of like, he's out of his mind, but he just points behind him like, you need to turn around. And he turns around, and Linda's standing there and kicks him in the grapefruits.
Nice.
Yep. And then and because Trish is the one that's supposed to have been taking care of Linda, the story is that she stopped giving Linda her meds so that this whole thing could occur. And she ends up jumping Stephanie out, and there's some shenanigans outside the ring, and then Shane wins the match, and it's a killer angle.
Donnybrook,
good
times.
Trish has had some fantastic stuff, and she's a Toronto girl, so if you're gonna bring her out ahead of Evolution, you're gonna bring her out when they're in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. And it was fun to have her come out and just get into an argument with Elias.
Yeah.
Elias rudely suggesting that she was a 60-year-old woman.
Right.
I had to look it up because I had no idea how old she was.
Right. She's a mom now, so she's definitely. I can tell looking at her that she's definitely older, and it's one of those things as you get older to see somebody and then not see them for a while and then see them again, and it's the same person. You know it's them because the face is the same, but there's definitely age on that face.
Oh yeah, that's how I feel when I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Like, oh, ooh, who's that? Recently shaved my beard, and I was like, whoa.
Hey.
There's an old man in there.
Right. You shaved more than your beard.
Well, yeah,
you're like
true.
Stone Cold Johnny Constant now. Yeah, but it was a real fun segment. And then, seeing Trish and Mickie James interact just briefly for the match that came through, where it was it Alexa versus Ember Moon? No, it was Natalya.
Yes.
Natalya. It was I think it was Foxy and Natalya. But Alexa bringing out not only Foxy, but her...
Yes, because Foxy has the new bedazzled captain's hat.
Yes, which is fantastic.
Yes, agreed.
She should always be our captain.
I totally agree.
That should just be her gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and Natalya getting a feel-good moment, locking on the sharpshooter and getting Foxy to tap out.
No, that whole thing was really good. It worked out well, and they continue to push towards Evolution, and we're going to see more and more of the women, and in almost every case, I love it. And I don't hate it when it's the Bellas. I have the kayfabe desire to not pay attention to the Bellas, so I just roll with it.
Right. As I mentioned earlier, we got to see the Revival win over the B team. They've each got singles victories as of last week over the B team. Now they have a tag team victory over the B team.
Mm-hmm. And a hell of a promo. I liked that they. I mean, essentially the promo was the tweet we had seen earlier.
Yep.
But I dug it. I think that for people like Mr. Wolf who are waiting for the Revival to get their chance, I think it looks like we're going to see that.
That's my question to you. Is the Revival the ones to derail the B team train?
I think so.
Yeah?
And
this quick? This early?
If not, then at least we're seeing the Revival getting put on the map. Like, when they got brought up, they weren't even put on the map. We've got to see them, but they, not even a program really to speak of. And we got to see him. They got to work with Roman and
Bobby Lashley.
Bobby Lashley. So, for those people who are waiting to see the Revival, I think that it's pretty clear that they are working their way towards getting something, whether it's the titles now or at least some serious screen time between now and WrestleMania. I think that the big concern is that everyone who comes up now could become the Ascension, right? Or the or Dana Brooke or
any number of guys, Tyler Breeze.
Yeah, but it looks like they're getting an actual push, and I hope so. I thought that match was really good. I liked, as much as I love the B team, and I will continue to like the B team. This has now become one of the programs that no matter who wins, no matter who loses, Shawnee wins.
Yeah.
Well, see, are you you're still firmly in the B team camp?
I think it's too early to. I'm playing the long game. The B team is there to job out to the Authors of Pain. When we finally decide it's time for the Authors of Pain to run through whoever's got the titles. Right. That's what the B team is there for.
Now, do you think that the Authors of Pain were destined to one day go after the Bludgeon Brothers?
I never thought of that. I think that could be surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. I don't. It's a match that on paper you look at and you're like, it's just a bunch of. I don't remember who coined this phrase originally, but I love using it. It's just a bunch of big refrigerators banging into each other. But I think like all four of those guys have the capability to make a match that you didn't expect from guys that big.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of big guys, the Big Dog and the Meat Shack.
Now that damn computer graphic of the Big Dog.
The Big Dog. Big Dog wasn't over for me until we got to see the AR meet Big Dog at SummerSlam. Yeah. Now I'm always like, the Big Dog. Ziggler and McIntyre taking on Meat Shack and Big Dog.
Yes. Now, how much fun was that?
Yeah.
I did not see that coming. We had been talking. You and I probably last week had discussed it. I know that Mr. Wolf had texted me where it all is. Does the Wyatts come over? Do you reunite the Wyatts with
the Meat
Braun,
Shack,
as a heel, so that he could have someone to back him up? But no, they have been working this angle for a long time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Does Braun teaming up with Drew and Dolph really make him the bad guy? I'm still in the camp. Maybe the whole Becky Lynch thing is skewed me as far as who's the bad guy and who's the good guy. But like Braun has still done nothing wrong.
Well, I would say that in terms of traditional classic WWE storytelling, he certainly has executed the maneuvers to make him the heel. Now, does that mean that the crowd's going to start booing him against Roman Reigns in the Shield?
Hell no. Hell no.
Now, could you see... this is a very, very, very interesting situation now, right? Because you have Drew McIntyre, who has some indie cred and some previous WWE cred, but is not like a guy who's super over with anyone in particular. Ziggler, who is super over with women and children when he is a face,
right?
But loathed universally as a heel. And then Braun, who everyone loves. So how does this go from here on out? I do not know, but I do know that it's not what I saw coming even a little bit.
No.
Even when they announced that was going to be, it just didn't occur to me. I love that I am so naive that I don't start putting these pieces together until the actual turn takes place.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, good. Duh.
Well, yeah, that's something I wanted to ask you too. Is this isn't the faction we thought we were going to get, but are you still pleased to have it?
Absolutely.
Are you still like, okay, cool?
Yes, because something is happening and that is different, and who knows what could happen from here. Now, maybe it just becomes those three versus those three.
Right.
But there sure are a lot of other three-man teams floating around.
Well, and the way the story was told in the ring, too, was very fascinating because both McIntyre and Ziggler didn't really look like this was pre-planned.
No.
They looked like they were just as scared of Braun after the bell rang as they were during the match.
No, they all sold this super good, right?
Right.
Braun, who's like sort of stays on his side of the ropes trying to decide what he wants to do.
Yeah.
You have the announcers who are saying, well, this looks like it was set up all along. What? You think this was setting the stage for the cliffhanger. And how great is that? Love that.
Yeah.
Love the cliffhanger with Stephanie McMahon on the phone.
Yeah, for sure.
These are what I want.
Yes.
I would assume that other people, not everybody, of course, but I would assume a lot of people are as enthused as we are.
Yeah. Well, and that's like that's that's how you write compelling television.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have to keep in mind you can't be Lost, the ABC TV show Lost. Like, you can't ask questions and then not give sufficient answers.
Right.
You can't
right.
just ask questions the whole time. You have to, answer some questions and then ask new ones. Have them lead into new ones, kind of thing. But it is once again, great couple of weeks of WWE product. This particular past 2 weeks.
Right. If this is a new direction, this is sort of a reward for people who have put in the time, right?
Yes.
And if it's not a new direction, then it's going to be a real disappointment.
Well, yeah.
If this fizzles out somewhere between now and Hell in a Cell, but there's no reason for it to fizzle out. You don't have to have big, huge swerves. You just have to have the thought that there could be something happening at any time.
Right. Exactly. You know what? And we've raved about all the good things that happened on Raw. Here's a question I have for you: how much do you care about Triple H versus The Undertaker at the Super Showdown?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you.
I could
twice
never
during
see it. And
twice during. I mean, last week there was a Triple H promo and there was a video package or something like this. This week there were two different video packages with different guys who have faced either Triple H or The Undertaker, trying to give their picks. Guys like Mick Foley and Ric Flair and even Jeff Jarrett.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was more compelling than it.
But even then, both times, I'm like, I wish something I wanted to happen was going on instead of this.
Yes. Now we're going to see Shawn Michaels come in next week to promo and hype this match.
Right.
If he ends up being the referee, does that spice it up at all for you?
He was the referee in one of their other matches.
Right.
Like, we're already treading over old ground.
For me, I think that does spice it up a little bit. And I've never been a Shawn Michaels fan, but for whatever reason, that would intrigue me a little tiny bit more. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe because
I don't know.
I think because I know so many people, like, he's the one that everyone wants to see, and has been stalwart about saying that he's just not coming back.
Yeah.
But he's been down at the NXT Performance Center, and he's some matches
helping training people and stuff, which is super cool. I mean, he's definitely one of the guys that you want the next generation of people to have as a resource, just like Stone Cold Steve Austin or Triple H or even an Undertaker or a Mankind, guys that have done some of the biggest things in wrestling that can tell you some of the mistakes they made that you should not make, and then some of the things that they've learned, much like we've talked about before when you get to go to like a Ring of Honor show and you see Bully Ray, Dudley or Cody Rhodes or something like that, guys that have worked on the big stage and know how to work a crowd, giving back to not only the smaller crowd, but the guys who work primarily on that smaller stage.
Right.
And teaching them, like, this is how, all it takes is a cock of the head or, looking from one direction to another, and the crowd picks up on that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Raw is getting good.
Yeah. And so SmackDown. Jesus.
King Booker.
Oh my God. I don't know who booked the first segment on SmackDown this week, but they deserve a raise.
That was a lot of fun.
That was so much fun. We were already, the New Day come out with like a replica of the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
And we already know we're going to have a good time because, once again, you're doing it in Toronto. So, it's big hockey. Hockey's a big thing to them, something like that. And the last time we saw anybody in the WWE carrying around something that looked like the Stanley Cup, it was when Edge won King of the Ring. And instead of giving him the crown and the scepter and everything, they just gave him a big Stanley Cup because him and Christian are Canadian guys. So they're going to be all about it. And it's going to be fun times. The New Day coming out to celebrate being the five-time WWE Tag Team Champions. What better way? Not only to celebrate with Booker, but with the King, Booker.
And it was a lot of fun. Super silly, tons of fun.
The guys in the New Day just, popping huge to see Booker on the stage, treating him with the amount of joy that you should.
Yes.
When you see King Booker.
Indeed.
And I can't remember who we were watching with, whether it was you or somebody else, saying, like, how cool is it that the current generation of wrestlers are at a point where, like, they were probably huge fans of Booker T.
Sure. Yeah.
So, you get to do something in the ring with King Booker, and, like, there's some genuine joy there.
Oh, yeah, sure. Other than Kofi as children, you
yes.
figure that, as teenagers, at some point, Xavier and Big E were watching Booker T and saying, I can do that one day.
Yep.
And now here they are on top of the damn world, five-time champions.
That's right. No, absolutely fantastic thing. And then we got to see him on commentary, too. I'd tell you what, the first, 45 minutes of SmackDown was just a perfect show. It was the show that, the kind of show I've always wanted. And it's always fascinating to me when you get a really good episode of SmackDown, how much they can cram into 2 hours. Like, sometimes you'll get to 9:30 and then realize, oh my God, the show's almost over. We're on to the last match and it's going to take up 2 or 3 segments. The show's almost over. And then sometimes you're like, it's 9:30 and I still haven't seen AJ Styles yet. What's going on?
Right. Whereas at 9:30, if you happen to look at the clock during Raw, you're like, oh, even if there's something I want to see, it seems like it's still forever.
Yeah, it's still an hour and a half of show.
Shows are getting good, which is great, but it is a very, very different experience.
The
compact, tight 2 hours versus the 3-hour show.
Yeah, for sure. But we got to see basically a triple threat tag team match between 3 guys that we have not seen on TV in quite some time.
Sheamus, Cesaro, the Bar, and the Colognes.
Yes.
And boy, having the return of the Bar not so long ago, I was very excited about it. But the Club, man, how much fun would it have been to have a
I would have been
New
off.
Day?
They were definitely the ones I wanted. Even with as abysmal as some people will say their feud was a couple years ago on Raw.
Oh yeah, one of the worst. I mean, the Club, maybe why the Club has been buried.
Yeah, right.
People forget about how bad those promos were.
I still will say what Abs Anderson when he had the goofy glasses and the thing and he pulls up his abs. Like, talk about him. Think about him. Look at him. And man, was Abs Anderson in the ring for so much of that match.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
He's so over with me for no good reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you and Nakamura were both. He's one of Nakamura's favorites.
Yeah, I just love him. I love him. And, getting to see Sheamus Cesaro when it was just the Bar and the Club, I was like, all right, cool. And then you add the Colognes, and I'm like, well, that's an unknown X factor. This could make it even more fun.
Yeah, the Colognes are such an unknown that it's like, who knows? Maybe this is going to be great. Now, as it turned out, it was one Cologne or the other. Like, I still don't. I mean, I know they're Epico and Primo, but they have. Not their fault. They are not getting a chance. Yeah. And then Paige also announced later in the show that there will be another 3-team match next week. It's Sanity and the Usos and Rusev Day.
And Rusev Day. That's right. How could I forget Rusev Day? Gonna fight, and I guess the winners of those 2 matches will probably
they will face off to then
face
the
off
opportunity to play to face New Day in Hell in a Sec.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing too. How many Hell in a Cell matches are there going to be?
I don't know. So
Hell in a Cell,
the 2 main titles, right, are the 2 that we know of, or is there
I don't
more
think AJ
already?
and Joe are in Hell in a Cell.
That's got to be.
That's what you would imagine. I feel the same. Like they haven't announced any of the girls being in Hell in a Cell. How are Charlotte and Becky not going to be in a Hell in a Cell match?
That's another one. That's got to be, right?
Right.
Got to be. After this week, especially, man, we're jumping all ahead, but Naomi and Billie Kay had a almost completely irrelevant match, and then
yeah, but it was good to see Naomi on TV again.
Agreed. This it's just unfortunate that this match against Billie Kay was much less good than the previous week's one against the other iconic. Not a great match and only 2 minutes long. But Becky, how great, how much fun,
how cool was it that they ended the show
going
first of all
full heel.
Yep.
And we, everybody had been wondering, and we just assumed because we're so used to this long, drawn-out process of Vince McMahon just saying, fuck it, I'm doing exactly what I want, no matter what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
And we're seeing now moments where you're like, maybe they finally have decided enough time has passed and that they can start doing some things that we want to see.
Right.
Now, for the people listening who... I do get why Vince McMahon withholds things, right? Because when you have something going on 52 weeks a year, if you give people what they want every week, they're going to burn out on what they want real quick and then stop watching.
Right.
And that's a real risk that you have. And that's, when you're running a legacy of 40 years, right? But yes, you sort of have to really know when people are going to start saying, you know what, I'm just not going to do this anymore. At some point you risk people turning it off, and that's when you got to be able to say, haha, okay, here you go.
Yep.
Here's something that you wanted.
Yep.
And so now we get Becky going full heel, like, all right, cheer or boo or whatever. This is the Becky you're getting.
Yeah.
And
pulling out the B word.
Yes.
Woo.
Yes. And that's another reason why you go PG for so damn long. So that way when that word is dropped, it means something. It's a big impact,
it's
right?
impactful.
Yes,
but it was really cool.
Kicks.
Yeah, those friggin' shoes look like the shoes Kofi used to wear, just all black.
Mm-hmm.
They look like dragon shoes.
Yes.
They were super cool. And the Toronto crowd, once again, they're the crowd I love, because Charlotte is they go off air with Charlotte sitting in the corner looking disheveled, because she won her match against Carmella, but then Becky came in and beat the crap out of her and cut a promo or something like that, and the crowd just booing the crap out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, nope, you got. I don't care. Becky could put her through a plate glass window. I do not care. Becky is my girl.
Yep, there was that sign in the crowd. Becky did nothing wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how long they keep this story running at the pace it's running, and don't switch gears. Obviously, you've seen with somebody like Roman Reigns that they can do it for a long time. They can be like, look, this is the guy we want you to cheer, so we're going to book him like you're supposed to cheer him, and I don't care if the whole arena boos the crap out of him. We are putting our nose down and going through, kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if they change gears at all. We haven't seen Becky wrestle a match since her heel turn. I'm hopeful they don't do what they did with Shinsuke Nakamura and try and alter her music so that it's less happy,
fun.
Yeah, less fun. I'm
you
interested
want a
to see.
Japanese rapper mixed in there.
Yeah. Maybe that's the or maybe they'll get an Irish rapper in there with a really heavy accent, so we have no idea what they're saying.
Oh no.
But yeah, once again, and then backing up, the segment before that, we got to see Joe and AJ kind of going back and forth. Joe backstage and AJ out in the ring.
Yeah, no, that was one of those cliffhangers where you're just like, oh, I guess they just didn't, like, whatever. Like,
yeah, because
AJ's running around the building. I'm gonna find you, Joe, and beat you up, and then he doesn't find him, and then
although
it was very effective how the backstageman goes, tries to get AJ like, hey, can I help you? And then AJ turns around with the fist cocked, so we can see that he truly means business. Very effective.
You can also see that Joe is getting to him, man. He's paranoid. He knows that Joe can sneak up and give you the coquina clutch at any moment. So he's ready to punch a dude.
No, those are two gosh darn professional wrestlers right there.
Oh, I can't I don't think that match needs Hell in a Cell. It could be in Hell in a Cell. It's such a heated rivalry at this point. Like, if you told me it was Hell in a Cell, I wouldn't blink. But I also, I just want to see him go again.
Agreed. And this is something that's so good that you could bring this out a year or two from now.
Oh, I agree.
Those are guys that stick around with the company. So you don't have to worry about how this story ends. Because, other than the fact that they're both guys that are in their 40s at this point. And so, a catastrophic injury could be around the corner. But, it's certainly not unheard of for people that, Chris Jericho's going at 48, so.
Yeah. But that's why I asked earlier, how many of these matches are going to be in Hell in a Cell? Because we found out Jeff and Randy going to be in a Hell in a Cell match for, no other reason than we don't like each other. There's not a title on the line or anything like that. I ain't shitting on it. I see it, and I know that Jeff Hardy has said before in multiple interviews that, his biggest thing that he wants to cross off his career is being in Hell in a Cell. I don't think he's ever been in one, but he wants to be in Hell in a Cell at a WrestleMania against The Undertaker. And we can cross off at least one of those things for you.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to get all of them, because I don't think he's going to survive this one.
Yeah, right.
I picture this being the last, the swanton off of the Hell in a Cell being the swan song for his career, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going to be, this is an interesting match, if only because, Jeff Hardy watch is, he is not someone I expect. This is not a rivalry that we'll be able to pick up in 2 years.
No, I agree. Not at all. It's like Jeff Hardy watch is a week-to-week thing. Mm-hmm. It went from, as I've said before, Meteora. It went from, I got to watch Jeff Hardy because any match could be his last match, to I got to watch Jeff Hardy because any match could be the last Jeff Hardy match.
His makeup was compelling this week. He had the profile on the one side of his face, so that made it interesting to look at him.
And the RKO on the other.
Yeah, he's not a great promo. He's just not.
He's not. No, he's not. His body language is where his charisma lies. Mm-hmm. When he's working in the ring, his body language is where all his charisma is. But you put a microphone in his hands, not strong.
No,
not really strong. Hasn't ever really been all that strong on the mic. But Randy Orton, once again, a guy, since he came back, we really haven't seen a match.
No.
Other than his match with Jeff Hardy, we haven't seen an RKO out of Randy Orton since he came back.
Right.
And I wonder if that's on purpose because we want you to hate Randy Orton, so we're going to take away the thing you love about Randy Orton.
Probably so. That's contributing to the fact that, yes, okay, that's very interesting.
And we're going to have him stick his penis fingers in Jeff's ear holes.
Damn it. Yeah, they sure are.
Ugh.
The old wiener-fingered arsonist himself,
Ugh.
Randy Orton. At least they finally recognize him as the heel that he is.
Right. Exactly.
He's not a good man.
Exactly.
Not a good person.
And I'll tell you what, the last thing we haven't talked about SmackDown really, if you thought Seth and KO was the best match you were going to see all week, boy, did SmackDown have a surprise for you.
You were into Daniel Bryan versus Cien Almas, were you?
That is one of the few times that I've said before about Cien Almas that he is capable of greatness. He just doesn't always give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, oh boy, he did that like that springboard moonsault where it's like second rope, top rope, whee.
Yep.
He did a lot of high flying stuff that I've known he's capable of. And not only does he make it look good, he doesn't make it look dangerous. Which I love.
I think that's the important thing is we don't get to see it every single week.
Yeah.
But we're also not going to be on Cien Almas watch at the end of his career.
Nope.
And that's like I was talking earlier about the fact that you don't give someone what they want every time because eventually they'll get tired of you. Well, if they don't get tired of you, you'll end up dying at Hell in a Cell in 2018. And that's, so when you get to see Cien Almas really go, you get to see him really go, right? And wicked chop match.
That chop, that overhand chop that he gave Daniel Bryan, was it him giving it to Daniel Bryan? Yeah.
He started it, and then
that
Daniel
overhand
Bryan gave
chop
him the receipt cross chop, and
is
it was like
the most vicious chop I have ever seen or heard in my entire life.
It was, yes.
That is, and whenever I go to like a local wrestling show and, you're 1 or 2 rows away from stuff, when people start getting into chops, it hurts. Mm-hmm. It hurts me and I'm not getting chopped. Right. I grab my chest just out of respect of like, God damn it.
Yeah, that's, I think, where you still get the flavor of the old school, right? Where it's like, we're not so dumb now that we're going to put you in the camel clutch and accidentally cripple you. Like they would have done 40 years ago,
right.
Or gouge your eye out and then go, well, I didn't know.
It's the business. You better get used to it.
But they do like, all right, fine. If you're gonna give me a wicked good chop, and we give you a wicked good chop back, and we can have our little ballsy,
right.
little man
both
fight.
Both of our chests will be bright red, just hamburger by the time it's over. And even seeing it added to it having Brie Bella out there as well, getting to see her reactions to some of the stuff that Daniel was taking, like that chop, getting to immediately cut the camera to her and watching her wince was really very cool.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the Miz and Maurice coming in and devastating. First off, the Miz, we were talking about almost is he gonna? For me, I'm always watching to see how hard or how close to hard Daniel Bryan's head gets to the mat. And,
and he took a couple of good shots this week.
And the skull crushing finale, I'm sure, is a completely safe move. But it's one where you're like, this is designed to make it look like you're hitting him right in where he should not be hit. That's fascinating.
I had the thought there. I can't remember exactly what spot it was that almost hit Daniel, like in the back of the head with or something like that. But I had the thought of like,
he came in with that flying knee.
That was it, the flying knee. Eventually Daniel's going to have a match with somebody. And he's going to go backstage because they've told us that now when Daniel has a match, he has to do all the concussion tests just to make sure he's okay every time. Eventually, he's going to fail one of those concussion tests. Mm-hmm. How devastating is it going to be the guy that's the first guy, if not the last guy, to hit Daniel Bryan in the head and him fail a concussion test?
Yeah, well, it was almost Samoa Joe, which would not have been shocking.
Yeah.
If we were going to do a who's your likely candidate, Samoa Joe would have been up there, and he almost did. My other one is I remember when they went to do the Japanese tour a couple of years ago, Daniel Bryan was really lamenting that he could not, he would have loved to have tried to get a match with Nakamura. Now, this is before, of course, Nakamura came over.
Yeah.
And that was like one of his dream matches, and he wished that he could have got it. Well, now they can potentially get it. But Nakamura is a man. He may have knocked out Samoa Joe, as a matter of fact. I think he broke Samoa Joe's jaw.
Yeah.
He's perhaps a little reckless. Do you let them have that match?
Right.
The promos would be great because Daniel Bryan really wants it. And Daniel Bryan is at his best when he's going after something he really wants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As like we were just talking about Jeff Hardy. Like Jeff Hardy, not the greatest on the mic, even when you put him in a feud where he's supposed to be really, really like, I'm out for blood kind of thing. Whereas Daniel definitely steps up when you put him in a program like you have with The Miz or something like, you know, like that. When you put him in a program that's kind of like with, say, Big Cass, all right, whatever. But when you put him in a program, you know, against somebody that he really wants, Daniel always steps up.
Now, what do you think about the idea? Because Nakamura, they're giving him promos, no matches. First off, weird because he is a title holder, and they're you know, easing towards a pay-per-view, so you assume something has to happen soon just to keep that title vital.
You would imagine.
Unless they're just making it the new Universal title just out of habit.
Right.
One way that you could make Nakamura more heel, because that could also be what they're trying to do, is how about you let him, his English promos are not great.
Yeah.
let him do Japanese promos with subtitles. It's interesting because the New
that
Japan
would be
does the
interesting.
subtitle stuff, which is great for memes.
Yeah.
It's great. I love the New Japan memes where it's like you just, because you're like, well, I wonder what they had to say. And then you read it in those like 3 frames or something. Nakamura would be excellent at presenting himself in that comic book fashion because he's able to punctuate his words with faces and dynamic movement, and it would, for the general audience, it would just piss everybody off because even the
he's not speaking my language.
Well, there's that aspect, and also just there are plenty of people who are just like, I don't want to fucking read.
right. I think I'd be into that.
Yeah,
I think as a watcher of plenty of subtitled anime, I think I would really be into that.
Yeah, like instead of doing a standard promo, you bring in essentially what is a young boy or a young lion to interview Nakamura separately. Like, Nakamura's too good to be bothered. Like, all right, I'm segregating myself. And he gives the little table like they do in New Japan, and he just gives the presentation to a couple of photographers.
Right.
And then, because then you're setting up this sort of like, why are you doing this scenario? Which at some point you have someone kick down the door.
You could have Funaki interview him instead, just all in Japanese.
There you go.
That would be great. Man, that would be fantastic. Talking about the fact that like he's the U.S. title holder, and we still like you're walking into Hell in a Cell and you don't really have a U.S. title match. Well,
presumably that one's not going to be in the cell.
Well, yeah, but I mean, now that Carmella's had her rematch, I guess next week maybe R-Truth can pin her and get his U.S. title opportunity.
I meant to ask you, do you think that that's the next? Because where does Carmella go from here? They always talk about with on Raw, they mentioned the fact that if you lose your rematch,
back of the line.
So yeah, she's down with the jobbers like R-Truth.
Yeah.
So here we go.
She's just I think she needs Ty Dillinger to watch her back is what it is, because Ty knows that he's tried to explain the truth multiple weeks now. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I get that, but my understanding is that when you look at their personal lives, that you don't want Ty Dillinger to be the person that you cross over with the women wrestlers.
Quite possibly.
Apparently he likes the ladies.
Yeah. I got nothing to add to that. I don't know where to go from there. But yeah, once again, if you have a Hulu or if you have the capability to watch a DVR version or a streaming version or something like that, the last 2 weeks of Raw and SmackDown have been full of some really great stuff. Since SummerSlam, they've done a really good job. And I don't know, you always feel like when you go from about the show to real excited about the show, something has to have changed.
Right.
Somebody new must be on the creative team, or somebody must be listening to somebody else they don't listen to normally or something like that. I don't know if anything's changed or what's changed, but I tell you what, since SummerSlam, it's been real enjoyable.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has been a chapter turn. None of the stories have swerved huge. It seems like the direction they were going. But yeah, they're stepping things up, and it's like, okay, cool. Like we're finally this is what I've been waiting for.
Yep.
Like it seems like a direction is like now. Like, it's interesting to say, I wonder what their long-term plans are, right?
Yeah.
Whereas before, it was like, okay, what are they, thought that...
Right.
It looked like Roman Reigns was going to win the title, and then it was going to be just a bore fest.
Right.
But instead, it's the exact opposite. And
which is really smart on their part to be like, okay, people are going to boo the shit out of Roman Reigns, so we got to give them a reason to actually be excited when Roman's out there, so let's... Right out the gate, let's have him give Finn Balor a title match. Right out the gate, and then let's
give him the Shield.
Let's give him the Shield.
That is, as someone who did not watch the original Shield matches, it is so weird to me.
Yeah.
And, this is a meteor moment, but man, it is just so weird to me to see how over the Shield is.
Yeah.
Because all I know is Roman Reigns being not over.
Yep.
I was watching the AJ, one of the they have a short AJ Styles retrospective on the network, and I was watching that. First off, it's great because you get to see the old Y2. I've forgotten that when he first comes in, he is immediately in a feud with AJ Styles.
Yep,
I mean,
with
with
Y2J.
Y2J. And they created that tag team for like a week.
Yep. Yeah, they made shirts and everything, which was fucking weird.
Yeah. But that was a really fun program. But then he feuded with Roman Reigns. And
Yep.
that was probably when the crowd really started turning on Roman, because already at that point, which I think was 2015, maybe it was 2016, no, 2015. Yeah, Roman Reigns is already getting a ton of heat because if not the first match they had with one another, one of the pivotal matches they had with one another was in the UK. And as we know, the Brits love to stir shit up. And
Hashtag one fall show. The Brits love to stir shit up.
And so they were getting a ton of heat on Roman from that point. And as I think back, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Why?
Yeah.
Like everyone wanted AJ to immediately become they wanted their hero from New Japan to come in,
Right.
kick the guy that they didn't like from America out of the ring,
Yep.
and just continue the New Japan storyline in the United States, as if there was ever a chance that was how Vince McMahon was going to roll, right?
Right.
Where Vince McMahon was going to let's buy their best talent, but then also just completely dog their storyline and just basically beg people to say, aren't we as good as New Japan? Aren't we?
Yeah.
Instead of forging the way ahead and being the standard bearers.
I remember when AJ came in, he was at the Royal Rumble, and it was a huge shock. And then he went into that program with Chris Jericho. I remember being one of the fans that's like, why the fuck are you feeding AJ to Chris Jericho for WrestleMania?
Right.
This is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Styles is better than this kind of thing. But like you said, like right after that was over and Jericho got his WrestleMania paycheck and was like, all right, I'm good. You put him right into a program with Roman Reigns, and it all worked out.
Oh yeah, and Jericho went on to have the Best Friends.
Yeah.
My favorite program outside of Johnny Wrestling and
Ciampa. Yeah, for sure.
And that one's just that second one was just sheer luck. I was not a huge DIY guy. I recognized that people were chanting Johnny Wrestling and Psycho Killer right from the start, and I liked that about them. I liked like the cut of their jib, but I did not think that we were seeing like the next legends of NXT.
I didn't realize like I'd seen them as a tag team on NXT, but they hadn't really resonated with me yet. And then they did the cruiserweight championship, like the cruiserweight classic, and they pit them against each other, and that was when it was like, oh, these guys are all right. These guys are something. Yeah, and then they had their great tag team run, and now they're, now both of them are just super over with NXT.
Yep, Johnny Wrestling opened this week's NXT, and he was sort of apologizing to the crowd, and this is an interesting one because we're coming off of the pay-per-view, so the crowd in Florida, they're a little sassy.
Yeah.
So it's not that unified crowd that we normally get. So it's a little awkward for Johnny at first, but it goes really well. I did not watch the entire episode, so I'm not going to spill it. But what I will say is I watched half of the episode. And what I have to say about NXT is one of the main stories that kicks off here that's taking place right now is William Regal is going to go down the entire roster and ask everybody if they were responsible for Aleister Black, with some kind of henchman with him taking notes.
Okay.
And so we get that moment there. We get a moment with, first off, during that promo, the Velveteen Dream comes out and refers to Johnny Wrestling as, oh no. He gives him a new nickname that
escapes you at the moment.
That would definitely have worked if the crowd had, if it was someone who was less over than Johnny Wrestling. Johnny
Woe Is Me, I think.
Something like that, yeah. But we're gonna get a match, Johnny Wrestling against Velveteen Dream next week.
Oh, that'll be great.
That's like seeing a pay-per-view quality match on a Raw kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
That's like the Seth Rollins versus Kevin Owens on a random Monday night for people who are NXT fans. So that's going to be super cool. And halfway through the program, there is an interview between William Regal and we watched it before the show, Chuck.
Oh, Nikki
Cross.
Nikki
Thank
Cross,
you, sir.
yes.
Thank you. It is so damn satisfying and entertaining.
It is. Absolutely. You told me about it, and before I was like, well, then we're going to have to put off recording the show for 10 minutes so I can find this because I love Nikki Cross.
Yeah, I'm not going to say what's going on because this is like, if you're not an NXT fan or if you're a casual NXT fan or you just haven't happened to have seen this one yet, this is the time to start watching NXT. Like, I can feel it in my bones. Everything is coming together on the big stage in terms of things starting to move and things starting to happen, which means that if things continue to, like, if this is chapter 2, for example, in a big 3-chapter arc that's going to take us through the next year or two, then you're going to start to see stuff in NXT now where you're going to get to have the fun that I did seeing Kevin Owens and Finn Balor come up from NXT into, you know, two of the guys who have had big roster positions out of NXT, where we're so focused on the people who don't get the big chance, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's always going to be someone, and Aleister Black is probably going to be one of those guys, right? Like, he's not huge, but he's not tiny either. And I think that if somebody is going to make it to the next level and be a player in the next generation, Aleister Black's the guy. And this whole storyline about who is the one that whacked him is so much fun. Nikki Cross, so entertaining, and I think that we can rely on the fact that Triple H has been giving us stuff that over delivers for the entire time I've been watching wrestling, where that's something we absolutely cannot say. Now Raw and SmackDown are over-delivering because they brought our standards down. NXT has kicked it up a notch when they have already consistently over-delivered. So now's the time to watch NXT, people. It's fun.
It's amazing to me. I was just having the same thought while you were talking about NXT that I had while I was watching Raw Monday, that now that we've had a couple of weeks where things are good, we're like, hey, this is really fun. It's amazing to me how many characters, indistinguishable, fun characters you have on like each particular roster. You have so many that sometimes you don't even see some of them. Like we've said before, like, hey, it was good to see Naomi this week because we ain't seen her in a couple weeks. Hey, it's good to see the club and the bar because we haven't seen them in a while, kind of thing. But even in NXT, we've talked before about how like when they'll, right after WrestleMania, they'll pull up like 12 people from NXT and you feel like there's nobody left in NXT to talk about now. We've got like 2 guys, whatever. But NXT is definitely at a point now where there's so many distinguishable characters that, there's something for everybody to love.
Absolutely, and we have the NXT UK now, and they're going to kick that show off at some point, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be an hourly show, and there's a connection they have with Progress and Evolve Wrestling. I almost said Evolution again. Evolve. So
we've got another Mae Young tournament right around the corner starting next week.
Yes, and we'll talk about that next week. There's a few familiar names. The problem with these tournaments is that their spoilers are there, whether you want to find them or not. There's been a major injury that you won't mind nearly as much as me. My pick to win the damn thing.
Oh, no.
Already hurt. But, we'll get to watch the first. Hopefully, we'll get to the time to see the first episode, but we'll go over it for sure next week, the roster, if nothing else. And all right, man. Well, we've gone long again. I thought today was going to be a short show.
Nope. I knew when not only we had Raw and SmackDown to cover, but we were going to talk about All In, and everything that's going on this week is a huge week for wrestling. And I tend to wonder if maybe that's why the shows have been real good the last couple of weeks, because they know that All In is right around the corner, and we got to make sure that people, not so much make sure people come back, but make sure people remember that, like, hey, they like our stuff too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, there's definitely. I'm not going to say, well, All In was so good, I can skip Raw.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen this week for me.
Right.
For me. No.
Exactly.
Maybe put Raw off for a few hours a day.
Right.
But I've got to see what happens next, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
And as always, we hope that you guys will not skip next week's One Fall show.
No, please don't.
Just because you like this one so much.
Right.
Give us all the stars on iTunes, man.
Yes. Find us on Facebook at the One Fall Show group, or on Twitter, or
and check out this week's Nerd Radio on the podcast page at WRAF.com. I got to talk to Dustin, who's running a local wrestling show that is coming to town here in Detroit. It's not only going to start at the end of September, but it's going to be on our local syndicated WADL a couple of weeks later on TV. It is going to be the show that comes up September 29th. I don't remember exactly where it is going to be the first public appearance of Big Cass.
Ha!
He's also booked MVP and a couple of local talents that we really like. Some guys that you've probably seen in either Ring of Honor or Impact Wrestling. Jimmy Jacobs, I believe, will be there.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's gonna be a cool thing. Check it out. It's an interview with him, and James from our local morning show is going to be doing color commentary for him. It was a real fun interview and a real interesting thing that's going to be going on starting at the end of September here in the Motor City.
Excellent. All right, I can dig it.
A One Fall Show on the Facebooks, on the Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Shawnee Constant, Mr. Bean Wrestles on Facebook, and we'll be back next week with more Meteora.
Have fun. Be safe. Don't fall in the hole.